everybody, it's Tanya from the Quilters Market, and today we are here to finish our virtual mystery quilt number 3. So let's get started. We're going to use block number 3 and do a 3x4 layout to make the center of the quilt. So you have 3 rows by 4 rows. That's going to be the center of your quilt. That is clue number 16. For clue number 17, we are going to join 4 of our blocks from block number 1. Then we're also going to join 5 blocks of block number 1 together. So you should have 2 sets of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 sets of 5. Because you press both long seams in the same direction, you can turn every other block and end up with many, not all, but many of the seams that will mesh together. After you sew the length, you're going to need to measure both of these strip sets. So you're going to measure the block of 4, and you're going to put that number here. You're also going to measure the row of 5, and you'll put that number here. So we'll bring you to our finished quilt to show you how you're going to measure. So again, our quilt is already finished, but what we're going to do is going to take the edge of the block strip that we've sewn together. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to measure all the way down, and we're going to write that number in that spot for your 4. Then we're going to take the 5 that we have, and we're going to do the same thing. Again, ours is already sewn into our finished quilt, but this is just showing you how you're going to measure. So you're going to go from the edge of the quilt block all the way down to the 5, and you're going to mark that number for your 5 strip set. That's clue number 17. For clue number 18, we're going to make a strip set using 1 3/4 of the light, 1 1/2 of the dark, and 2 inches of the medium. You're going to make 4 of these strip sets. Press the seams on 2 of the sets towards the medium. Press the seams on the other 2 sets towards the light. So 2 of them you'll be pressing down towards the medium, and 2 of them you will be pressing up towards the light. That is clue number 18. For clue number 19, we are going to refer to the 2 measurements that we have here. You should have numbers that reflect the measurements that you did for your block sets. So once we take those measurements, we're going to refer to these measurements for number 19. The 5 block length should be 38 inches, but may be slightly different because of the number of seams in the pieced blocks. Use your measurement for clue 17 and cut 2 of the strip sets 3 1/4 inch longer than that number. For example, if your 5 block measures 37 1/4 inches, you will cut those strip sets 38 1/2. So 37 3/4 plus 3/4 equals 38 1/2. After you cut the length, cut a 45-degree angle at each end. So first you're going to cut this strip to your 38 1/2 if your numbers equal this, so that number plus your 3/4, that's what you're going to cut this strip. Then after you cut this strip, you're then going to cut the 45-degree angles off of that. So the reason we are cutting that 45-degree angle is because we are going to miter the center strips together from that center portion of the block. So again, this is our finished quilt. And this is your center here. This is your light strip, dark strip, and medium strip. And we measured that. We cut that 45-degree angle, and then we were able to sew the two sides and then miter that edge. That's why you want to make sure that you measure before you do your cuts. So for clue number 20, add the long strip set to the side of the quilt and the short strip set to the top and bottom of the quilt. Stop and backstitch 1/4 inch from each corner. Then sew the diagonal seam to complete the mitered border. Press the corner seams open and the long seams away from the center of the quilt. And that will finish your mitered border. Then we're going to add the 5-block row of clue number 17 to each side of the quilt. So our 5-block row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to add to the sides. Add a block 2 to each of the 4-block rows from clue 17. Add that new row to the top and bottom of your quilt. So you'll add the 2 blocks to the side of 4. So 4, you now should have 6 on both the top and the bottom, and you're going to add that to your quilt. Join 3 of the medium strips end to end. Do this twice. Cut 2 borders 53 inches long and add them to the sides of the quilt. So this is your medium border. You're going to measure that 53 inches and add them to the side of your. Then you will cut 2 borders 50.5 inches long and add those to the top and bottom of your quilt. If you had to adjust the inner set of the borders, you will also need to adjust these outer borders. Measure your quilt to get an accurate measurement. To measure your quilt, you should measure in the center of your quilt, not on the edges. So typically you would measure 2 points in the center. So you would measure, jot that number down, measure, jot that number down, and take an average of those 2 measurements to get your new measurement. Congratulations, you have now solved the mystery of house arrest. The name of the center block in your quilt is called Crazy House. Seems appropriate right now. Thank you for joining us for Mystery in the Market 3. Have a great day. Happy sewing.